No, my internet was fine. The stream just decided to have a fucking stroke. For no reason. Do we make this guy? Probably, right? Yeah. Sure, bud. How does this read? This isn't gonna work the way that I think it does it? That's gonna be very tragic, huh? No, it does work that way. Sick. Sure. Wow. Who would have guessed? You knew about this, you fucking dumbass. Nice lanes, yeah. If he had Song and Kaiman, he wouldn't have gone for, Hydra. He would have gone Chandra. And then as soon as he attacks, we just negate. Gawua. Gawua. Braziel will be better. Do we play the Protoss line? No. No, I don't think we do. I don't like two Ouroboros. I think I'd rather have the search target for Lancia. What is that one? Is it not colon? Oh, it's because it's number and then something and then colon. I think it's a rare, right? It's like a rank 5. This guy? Is it this guy? No. Schooled D-Barrier Purge. Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, it's this guy, right? Heraldry Cret? No. Is it? It's not Ragn Affinity, right? Does anyone know the guy that I'm talking about? It's the rank whatever to search out, Is it this guy? Number Z between 101 and 107 in its name. Same type or attribute in the same level as that monster's rank. It's this guy, right? This the Star Seraph guy? I think so, right? I'm gonna test that real quick. Solo mode. Are the C numbers counted? They should be. Okay, that wasn't it. Excuse me? Oh, I didn't add it. That's why. I could have sworn I had. Yeah, okay. That's what I wanted. I just got clapped by that guy. 2 turn 1 surrenders? Whoa. Oh, it's because this deck is the Duelist Cup deck as opposed to the actual deck that I copied it from. Okay, sure. Sure game. did this wrong. Shit. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine! It's fine! I just chain blocked wrong. Yeah. That's really fucking stupid. That's really, really stupid. Because if I do that correctly, we're fine. Totally A-okay. Alright, well, whatever. This is a once per, right? It's not. Does that matter? No, not particularly. Not particularly. Okay, we'll go node here. I'm gonna do this as well. Interesting. Okay, we'll go ice. Pitch sword. Here. Go node. Pitch fua. Swing sword. Go detonator. Go produce it. Probably detonator, right? Guava. Sure.
I pop here, right? Yes, I do.
It plays into triple tack, which kind of sucks, but there's not a whole lot that I can do about that. Yeah. You wouldn't have even been able to use the engraver effect. There wouldn't have been another target for him to send. What's up, Mysteries? How's it going? It's a good hand. Maybe. Why do we elect to do this as opposed to just activating the cold block? Because we're stupid. True. You have March Iron Hand. Nope. Okay, cool. Not a bad option. Why did I have ice? Because I'm stupid. Yeah, I'm supposed to add star there. That was really dumb. Imperm? Does Ouroboros do anything here? Not necessarily. Let me actually check. It's a thunder, right? Yeah, oh no. You're the pilot. Okay, it's right. I forget the typings don't match the, attributes. Okay, then if that's the case, I'm gonna go Infernal Flame. These two. Nib here. Set Kudos. They have to nib, like, exactly here. Yeah. This basically is pure Ryzeal. It's doing the same thing. Just more of it. Yeah, we'll go dual drive here. No ass. Okay. Just the 2 engrave, right? Here's the thing. Pure Ryzeal is a deck that should not exist. And what I mean by that is there is no incentive at all for you to play Ryzeal without either Heraldic or Fiendsmith or some other engine. Like, I don't know, Voiceless maybe? Ignore that one. But more specifically, the others, right? That being Heraldic or Fiendsmith. If you are playing quote-unquote pure, which is just cutting the Heraldic cards for more 7th Ascension or something and like hand traps, you are just playing a worse version of the deck. And yeah, there's no reason to not have either the Heraldic or the Fiendsmith cards. If you play the Fiendsmith stuff, you can't play the things like the 7th Tachyon and what have you. If you play the Heraldic stuff, again, it's just like straight up better, right? So in terms of pure, I mean, this is basically the pure variant because it's just rank 4. Ryzeal Voices was ever a real thing? Well, some people think it is, so. Still prefer the Shark engine because it's smaller. Well, tragic, I lose. Why don't I play Protoss? What is the purpose of playing Protoss? I guess we can, at the very least, do this. His hand sucks so much balls. Okay, I will... Is there a point to setting plugin here? Actively, no. I have to just, like, hope and pray that they don't have anything. Or that they die to ash. They won't, but... Yeah, you got it, bud. My hand was very weak. I could have... that wouldn't have made sense. I could have just passed, but that wouldn't have made sense. Yay, now we have to play an extra 2 fucking games. Yay. What a great ranked system. The Shark Engine is code. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's not a reason in the world to play the Shark Engine. This is a hand that does exist. Wow, this is maybe one of the worst hands this deck can produce. Because I have to, like, normal this. Okay. Please don't have imperm, please don't have imperm, please don't have imperm, please don't have imperm, please don't have imperm. Yes! Yes! I'm gonna send Ags here. Chain 1. Chain 2. Let's go Infernal Flame. They did have Ash. Sick. I have to hope they whiff a draw. Now what? Go like Dugares? Also, we're playing this shit, right? Oh. Because this is at 3, isn't it? Dugares. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, don't they just special here? Nope, they're gonna take the gamble. If they special, I lose, right? What the fuck was your draw? Oh, trapped. Sure.
Uh-huh.
Zappo? Sure. This is maybe the worst list I think I've ever seen. Holy crap. A Gundam. Sure. So you're telling me my opponent has, quite frankly, nothing. I'll take it. Like, any top deck basically does it. It's unplayable as an engine in the TCG. No. It's extremely playable. This can't be the right play. I refuse to believe that this was ever the correct play. You know you don't get a draw, right? They probably do, let's be honest. Ash is not very good. Tragic. Hate to see it, hate to see it. Cool. Normal Griffin. Could go combat here. Too bad the shufflers exist. Yeah, I think we do just have to go this guy. Should I have normaled Leo there? Yes, absolutely. Except for the fact that I'm lying to you, because it wouldn't have mattered. They just died of this Ash Blossom here. I'm sorry, what? Huh? Oh, you already shuffled that back. Oh, okay, never mind. Oh, never mind, we goofed. Ooh, that is a very interesting draw, I must say, This may seem strange, but it does quite a few things for me. First and foremost, it allows me to use X effectively here, which is the most important thing here. But secondly, it puts Typhon back into the extra, which is actually not a terrible option for me. That's crazy. Yay. Yay. Tragic. No. 1000% of the time, no. I knew it. It's always. Yeah, Archfiend. Yeah. Lord for Birth? Is Birth a problem? We should be able to very easily play through this board. Because we know they have Archfiend in hand. Oh, never mind, it's so much worse. Yeah, well, this is funny. Just fire it. I don't think it does anything here, but... Oh, good. Oh, good, they're stupid. They thought I activated, like, Maxi or something. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Okay. So I could go send Ags here and negate. But Heraldry also kind of works. But I guess that doesn't make as much sense here. Yeah. We're just gonna send Ags. With Judgment? What the fuck? Huh? You have Solemn Judgment? What a psychopath. These people, abidi-bidi-abidi-bidoo, you know? This is maybe the worst Solemn Judgment I think I've ever seen. What the fuck? Yo? Ash? Cute. Well, good game. Shake my hand. Called by. What a fair and balanced Yu-Gi-Oh card, am I right? Also, there's no shot we're playing Solemn Judgment. Psychotic behavior. And I know the last card in your hand. It's not like you have anything. Draw a card here. What's my best option here? Arguably it's Dugaris. We go Dugaris, we lose the Duo Drive. And then what? Yeah, great question. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Because if Sage remains on the field... Oh, but we could just go... Because this guy's not going to be able to out just Detonator. Yeah, so we just make Detonator here. We should make Detonator. We know that they have what's his bucket in hand. Yeah. Cool. We'll go Detonator. Catch Ags. I might as well make this, but there's no point in me doing that now, so we're gonna go combat here. We're just gonna walk over this guy. And then we'll go main 2. We'll go Heraldic Beast Griffin. We're gonna dump the Leo. We're gonna summon this guy. We're gonna go Leo effect. We're gonna grab a whale. Plug in. We're gonna pass the turn. If they elect to add, we get to pop their lord. Hit for raw. Yup. Attach. Pop. And we can just negate it here. They can go code here to special summon back Archfiend. And then we just negate Archfiend. They elected not to activate the effect. Okay, cute. Sick, yeah. 10 out of 10, no. Draco Horus now Genesis? Huh? What is it about large bodied decks designed around incremental advantage and protect the castle that some of the worst players to play with? Draco Horus now Genesis. What do you mean by that? I don't love this hand. In fact, I kind of hate this hand. Except for the fact that we do have the ability to do this. Which is not great, but it's not terrible. Imperm? Do we die to Imperm? No, because now we can special summon Sword. Because now there is a Ryzeal in grave. Now we would have died to Imperm Bestial. So, but alas, no one thinks about Sword. Yeah, this card's stupid, by the way. Have you ever noticed how stupid this card is? Yeah, this card's stupid. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Send the boy. Here. Chain link. 1. Next. No, I still should have done that the other way. It's fine though. Free my boy X'd? He ain't do none? No, he's definitely a criminal. Brothers removal, combo, board breaker, interaction, 10 chain blocks. Brother needs to go. And all on an inherent summon. Well, this is a hand. Is it a good hand? No, it's terrible. It's so very bad. You're saying Mitsu got leaked for next pack? If I hate Circular, then I have to hate X. No, Circular is different. Circular is extremely different. Yeah? Do you have a star in hand and you realize now that you can't actually do anything? Duo drive. Sure. Duo drive. Mid. No one plays around mid. That's crazy. And they've already gone through, like, everything, too. Not like I have much, but, like... Oh, kind of something. Sure. Lance... Sure. Someone like Detonator here? Sure. Imagine playing around Nibiru. Could not be me. Star. Is that cross? Yeah. No, that doesn't make sense. What do I have to draw here? I have quite a few draws that are still live here. A few draws. I have a few. Not a lot, though. Yeah, that's fine. That's one of them. Okay. Let's... If they... Negate ice. I could summon ice, normal, star, and then just Xyz into Detonator of my own. It's not exceptional, but it is something. Or I could go... Oh, I could go Exciton. Except for the fact that I can't go Exciton, I'm lying to you. Exciton doesn't do it. Oh, except it does, because we can make Typhon after. Yeah. Then we can nuke the field. Okay. Do you have the trap card? I'm trying to think if there's a better option here. I really don't think so. Saiton. If they have Plasma Hole, like, there's nothing I could do, right? Oh, except for the fact that I'm locked now, and I'm stupid. That's on me. That's my bad. That's my bad. Then we go combat here. Just walk into this guy. Got that ice's effect. Walks. Yeah, there's nothing I could have done there. Nothing I could have done. My hand was just that bad. Like, if I normal summon ice, they just negate with cross because they still had star in hand. Yeah, I was just toast there. It's tragic, because if I drew, like, a slightly, just slightly better hand, they're cooked. Like, they're just unequivocally dead, right? But my hand was, like, aggressively bad. If I had, like, one more extender, one more starter, I do get to play the game. How interesting. I could go special, normal, XZ. Into what? Yeah, great question. Yeah, I think it's just normal, isn't it? Perfecto. Baylor. Do I draw two here? Yeah, probably. I mean, look at hand's nice, but I do think it's just draw two. Ash. Oh, fuck this game, dude! Oh, I fucking hate it here, dude. What are these hands? Yep, go. Ugh. No. That's a terrible, no good, very bad draw. Holy. Holy. Boogie. Baylor? Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, for sure. Yeah. Please be greedy. Yes! Okay, there's a chance. Sure. Yep. There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way! What is it? I fucking hate this game, dude. You've got to be fucking kidding me, game. Go fuck yourself. Oh, you're... Just draw everything. 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 Just go fuck yourself, game. What the fuck was that? I draw one of the worst hands this deck can produce, top decking nothing, and my opponent draws godlike every fucking time, and literally everything that they could have ever asked for. 10 out of 10. This game makes me sick, dude. Do you have Ash? Sick. Still died a nib, huh? I could go Ouroboros, pitch, and then reborn a guy. I kind of didn't do anything wrong. I have a guy that I can actually use here. Yeah, so I guess my best option is go Photon. And then I immediately realize my mistake here because I don't actually have another Kuzma, what's it, engrave. Does that matter? Immensely. If I go plug in Z monster or Ryziel monster, don't have those. Man, Eclipse Twin would be real nice here. Would be real nice here. That was just really fucking stupid of me. If only this guy hit the graves, that'd be nice. But alas, it doesn't. Okay, yeah, that I don't know what my thought process was there. I knew I didn't have a Ryzeal either. God, I fucking hate this game, dude. Okay. Yay, and it's this fucking deck. Hip hip hooray. Huh? Just search Chandra. I mean, like, play under the field spell. I don't know, because we're stupid, I guess. Imagine finding a detonator here. Oh my god, dude, shut the fuck up. Holy shit, dude. God, you're... River Stormer does the full Crystal line. Great game, dude. Just 10 out of 10 fucking game, dude. Just an actually playable game. You fucking bitch-ass motherfucker. Who the f- Alright, bud. They're like, one card I can't beat. The one fucking card I can't beat. And of course, it's the one card that shows up. Yeah, dude, 10 out of 10. No, Maxi's so fair. Yeah. I'm gonna kill myself, dude. I fucking hate this game. God, just everything. Just everything is awful. Just everything is awful. Make a good game, dude. Make a fucking playable game. How is it this unplayable? And it's like the fact that no one ever plays around it. But they're like, no, I'm gonna... Who the fuck are these people? Why are we not... I hate these humans. They're not humans. They're like literally cheating. No one up until this point has been activating Fuelos and Maxi in standby. Until now, when I draw the one of triple tap. What the fuck is happening? This game is so fucking unplayable. Oh shit, they do. Triple attack. Oh. Okay. What target did you have for Babushka? That's the wrong card. See. I want it to be done. I want it to be done by now. I guess I should just be firing the Max C. I drew my 1-of again. Are you kidding me? Awesome. That's a terrible draw. Fool. What a goofy goober. Alright. Bro did not think about that. Go Doug. Dugaris isn't really doing anything. It's just blue. It's just blue. But my blue's gone. That hand did not play around it. I mean, it kind of did, but not really. No. How much do you want to bet they draw Maxi? Well, the question is whether or not I draw the out. I think it's a hand. Oh, nothing. Well, that's actually crazy. What am I drinking? Juice. It's just juice. It's nothing special. It's basically just like the flavored water things. That's it. Alright, we're done. We're done. I'm losing my mind. Regardless of the deck that I play, this format is just so boring. I can't do it. I can't do it. That's it. Yeah. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. It's just, it doesn't help that this format sucks balls. As in, like, just everything. Just every format. He's back! Oh, cool. 3 topaz. Hilarious. Awesome. Awesome. Well, oh, that's what I was gonna do.
Ever wonder?
Jesse Cotton made a video, and we can react to it instead of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! What about that? Thoughts about that? He made a video talking about Draco Tail. I was like, Ayo, Draco Tail.
How champions actually prepare for bigger events. I just came off a fresh top 8 at YCS. Thanks. Vancouver. And today, I'm breaking it all down for you. The prep, the deck choice, and why I decided to lock in the deck that I did, as well as how I built it, the matchups, what worked, and also what didn't. Most importantly, I'll share what I learned, so that going forward in the format, we have the tools to continue to succeed. So if you're looking to sharpen your game, you won't want to miss this. The deck that I chose for this event was Draco Tales, and that seemed to surprise a lot of people, as it was definitely the least common of the 3 Justice Hunters decks that came out not too long ago. Most players did seem to lean towards Yummy or to Vanquish Soul Canine. Truthfully, the biggest...
I have not experienced too much of the Justice Hunter metagame, but I will say Draco Tail does seem a bit underrepresented. Like, it was literally not at Worlds, which is crazy to think about when, like, Malice was the 3rd most popular deck. And I'm just like, that's crazy to think about, right? So, to me, it's something that's just, like, I genuinely don't understand why it hasn't been there, because it seems really solid. And a lot of, yeah, both Joss and Jesse have, like, seemed to play it, so I don't know.
The reason I picked up this deck is it looked fun, and it seemed like something I would enjoy. And that's important, because it's significantly easier to learn a deck, as well as commit time to playing something, if you enjoy it. It's a big piece of advice that I give aspiring players.
True. That's why I am terrible at this current metagame.
If you really want to put yourself to the grindstone, don't just play what you consider to be the best deck. Make sure you're actually enjoying yourself, because not only is it because you're playing a game, but it also means you'll learn better. And that is ultimately still very important. You can't just play the best deck and hope to win. It's not that simple. But furthermore, this deck stood out in a way that we seem to be approaching a sort of triangle type format. Now, if you've never heard of it before, a triangle format is where you have 3 predominant decks, and they each have a good matchup against one and a bad matchup against the other, and a sort of rock, paper, scissors sort of ecosystem. The way it looks right now is that Vanquish Soul Canine can beat Draco Tail and loses to Yummy, with Yummy, of course, beating Vanquish Soul Canine and then losing to Draco Tail. You can fill in the blanks. That creates this environment that means Draco Tail can be good if there's a lot of Yummy. But also, that is still a surface level sort of analysis.
I do actually agree with this assessment, because Draco Tail in particular has the ability to put up some really just like big guys with very little that Yummy actually has the ability to interact with there. Especially because like they can also play on turn 0 and then just put up like a bunch of big dinguses that can walk over whatever Yummy's made. So it's kind of interesting. However, counterpoint, Vanquish Soul Canine beats everything.
As each of these decks does have the ability to beat their bad matchup. It's not like you auto-lose when you play into it, but it is something you have to be conscious of, and that'll matter when we talk about actual deck building. So with that in mind, it became a little bit less important which of the 3 decks I chose, was more so whichever I enjoyed, as no matter what, I'd be faced with some good matchups and some bad matchups.
Also, I like that Draco Tail has, like, every Draco Tail, you know, when they talk about Draco Tail, they always use the same card, and it's always this one, as opposed to one of the fusions, which is always, it's funny to me. That's all I will say. It is funny. Like, for Vanquish Soul, it makes sense to use either Raisin or Holisu, but you see an equal amount of both. When it comes to Canine, it's always Izana, which again makes sense, right? But for Draco Tail, you would think it would be one of the fusion spells, or like one of the fusions, but no, waifu. That's it. It's every time. It's consistently,
that's where I
and it's so funny.
Draco Tails.
Because this, like, as much as that card is important, it's also not generally what you would think of.
Obviously, there is a little more nuance to why this is the deck to go with. Another strong reason why this may be the deck to pick is to counter Yummy. Now, when you're in this triangle sort of position, being a step ahead of everybody else can be very important, because even though you have 3 relevant decks that have different matchups, there's always one deck which the general populace tends to favor. And if you can stay ahead of it...
It is one hell of a card. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense as to why it's been chosen. What doesn't make sense to me is that it's the only card that I see. I, like, rarely see the others.
You'll be well poised.
Like,
and it felt like, leading up to the release of Justice Hunters, Vanquish Soul Canine was the deck to be. It's the deck that had dominant results in the OCG, and a very unique sort of playstyle, and you to play one of the most...
Especially in comparison, like, when I think Draco Tail, I don't think woman, I think dragon. And so it's just easier for me to identify the fusion monster as opposed to random ass
cards that has ever come out. Vanquish Soul Holisu. So as that deck looked like it was poised the deck to beat, many players started playing Yummy. But of course the thing is, Vices Vancouver was not held release weekend of Justice Hunters. It had weeks in between for Forum to develop and progress a little. So in the weeks right before and right after Justice Hunters, we saw a huge shift as many players, including the best players in the game, switched towards Yummy. And of course, that was the deck that Dracotale had the better matchup against. So it meant that if I expected most of the tougher competition to be playing Yummy, then it would actually be rather beneficial to play Dracotale, which aligned rather conveniently with my preferences, being able to play the deck I enjoyed more. But that didn't mean the deck was perfect. As I was going to build the deck, there were a couple things I need to make sure were addressed. I need to figure out a way to cope with Vanquish Soul K9. Just because I thought the trend was shifting more towards Yummy doesn't mean I thought that it would all be Yummy. I would still have to make sure I was well equipped to deal with a matchup that was for sure not favorable for me, without sacrificing too much in, of course, the mirror match. That matchup still exists, as well as making sure the Yummy matchup stays good for me as well. Because obviously, what's the point of playing a deck with a good matchup if you...
That actually makes me wonder. Yeah, we haven't really seen many tournament results as of recently. Let me check. What regionals have happened? Not any of real note. There's a few. This one had a fair amount of Dracotale. It also had Mitsu, which is kind of interesting. And Krishron ended up winning. Funny. Yeah. Oh. Poor Oklahoma. Did just everywhere have a regional on the 5th? What the fuck? It's fine. There wasn't really anything of note, right, that happened since then? Since Worlds, I should say. Not really, right? Yeah. Because I think one of the trends that we saw at that YCS, but also at Worlds, is that Dracotale just, like, I guess wasn't the pick, and it's not really a triangle format, right? And it seemed very much more like a top 2 style format, where it's like you're playing Yummy, or you're playing Vanquish Soul, or you're playing a deck to beat those. I don't know if the TCG ban list makes anything different in that regard, but...
No longer have a good matchup by destroying the quality of your deck. So that became my primary goal as I kind of tweaked the deck and looked for specific cards worth playing. So that brings me to the biggest crossroads in my decision-making as I built this deck. How do I deal with Vanquish Soul K9? Now, whenever you have a problem, you want to actually pinpoint what the problem is. You can say, wow, the matchup is just hard, but that's not really a good analysis. You need to figure out what in the matchup is actually giving you a problem. What is the card that's making you losing? What card, if you delete it from the game, would
Ripper
give you a chance? And what became apparent to me was that one of the biggest things holding back Dracotale in that matchup was the fact that K9 Ripper could negate 5 mana. It severely limited
Yep.
your disruption when you went first, and then they could crap.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy analysis. If you've ever read the cards, it's just like, that one. That one right there. That's her, officer. Wait, she's an officer. That's her, officer.
Furthermore, when they went first, Ripper meant you couldn't hand trap them at an opportune point, because if you could 5 mana later in the turn, you could generate a lot of resources. You can't when Ripper is there. Alternatively, if you 5 mana early on the turn, bouncing with Arthalion and whatnot doesn't really accomplish much. So Ripper seems to be the card to beat, as it stymied my going first and my going second options against the deck. So my biggest goal shifted from how do I beat Vanquish Soul K9 to how do I address Ripper properly. Now, of course, that is a bit of an oversimplification on what is a very complicated and nuanced deck, but it was the main thing I wanted to make sure I was covering. It also meant that when I was approaching playing against the deck, if I could deny them the ability to make Ripper, I would. So if I went first and they summoned a Jokul and a Jiaolong, then getting the Jokul off the field right away would be good, because they have the normal summon again, which would use the normal summon, and then be pro to second removal. And at the same time, would stop the ability to search Azuna, a card that makes Ripper, as well as get rid of level 5, which would help them make Ripper. So it would all progress the general game plan of preventing Ripper from happening. Now, with Ripper being the target in mind, I had to figure out which tool was actually best at stopping it. You could take an approach.
I have a question. Why is Ripper generic?
Preventative measures,
just make it
forcing
take
through
a
it,
Vanquish
or
Soul
breaking
monster at the very least,
and
right?
I felt like breaking it would be unreliable, as when the Vanquish Soul deck could set up literally everything, sometimes they dice smash you and you still lose, and other times you just also still couldn't do enough to beat the field. Dracotale deck is not a crazy high combo deck. It does have a limited number of pushes. It's not nothing, but it's not a lot either. So board breakers for me didn't feel like an appropriate answer, as well as it had another problem. Part of the reason to play board breakers is that it stops cards like Canine Lupus and Izuna from activating their abilities, as well as the bonus effect of Ripper. But you can't really do that in a deck where your entire deck is graveyard effect based. And some of the best cards are hand traps, like Famina, or even the Charmies, which work well in decks that need cards in hand. Or what about Nib, or Valor, or Ash, which aren't necessarily staples in the deck, but do work really well as fusion materials or as cards to add back with Arthalion. So breakers didn't feel like an appropriate response. The next bet was preventing Ripper or overwhelming it. Now, preventing Ripper feels impossible. I mean, I don't have to really go too depth into this because if someone has something like Jokel as the first play, think of a hand trap that stops that. It's really not much. It might be just Azuna. So that means if your goal is to prevent it from happening, you really are just smoking a crack pipe. It's not going to happen consistently. And again, the key word there is consistently, because you can't have your entire strategy hinge on you drawing Azuna. And then there's other problems with that card we'll get to later, but not a good strategy. So instead, my game plan was to overwhelm the Ripper. Now this may seem stupid, but it's not something we haven't seen before. And when I mention this, it'll click in your head, it'll make a lot of sense, and it almost astounds me that players haven't talked about it. When we played versus Snake Eyes, it was often very frustrating to
True. Actually, I hadn't thought about that.
to deal with, because hand traps early on felt like they did nothing. Hitting cards to Snake Eye Ash and Bellstar didn't do a whole lot when the Faint cards followed shortly. One of the better things to do if you had a power hand trap like Nibiru was hold on to the Nibiru for later, and then later use the Nibiru in tandem with another hand trap to beat the Appaloosa and truly have a devastating impact. What's the difference between Appaloosa and Ripper? I mean, yes, they are very different cards, but when you isolate all their other random effects, when you look at it in the specific scenario that you need it in,
That is something I would never have thought of. Is that you beat Apple the same way, or you beat Ripper the same way that you would beat Apple.
of negating a hand trap, it's the same thing. Appaloosa is once per chain. Even though it's not once per turn, you can always maneuver it away that once per chain pretty much turns it into once per turn, in the same way that Ripper is. So when you take that same approach, you end up with a deck that is built sort of like the Snake Eye deck from last year. Which I know some people may not like. It is a hand trap heavy deck, but
Well,
it suits this
Tanukis
deck
are-
rather well. That means you want to
The problem is that Tanukis aren't raccoons, they're Tanukis. They're a different animal. It's like calling a horse a donkey. It's like,
pair.
But that being said, a Tanuki also isn't really a canine as much as like you would normally think of like a dog, right? Like a German Shepherd, right? So I can understand why people are like, nah, that doesn't really fit. But I mean, at some point you're
like
gonna have to
Valet
get
or
creative
Ogre,
with
a way to
dog.
stop Ripper or get it off the field, alongside a more impactful hand trap.
Tanuki is a
like
canine.
Nibiru, all being
Yes, but it's similar in nature to like, I don't know, what's a good example? Like how like a dolphin is a fish. Or, sorry, a mammal. Right, where it's like, we all know that it's a mammal, but that shit's a fish, right? And that, I would imagine most people are thinking similarly when it comes to like a Tanuki, where it's like, that's not a canine. That's a, I don't know, rodent? You know? Or yeah, I guess like a better example is like the capybaras that are technically rodents, and you're like, that's not a rodent, that's a pachyderm.
kind of
Or
fueled
something
by the
of that
Charmies,
nature, right?
which no longer feel bad to resolve because even if they're giving you draws, and you're drawing hand traps to stop them from dice smashing you. It's always the biggest fear of playing this deck, or playing those cards in this deck or in other decks. That led me to the sort of build that I ended up with, when I have an abundance of hand traps. In fact, it should be 20 hand traps when you're...
Again, yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, like, I understand the idea of, like, this one doesn't belong. This one's not a canine. Because most people, when they think of canine, they don't think of, like, a fox. They're more likely to think of, like, a Labrador. Or like a German Shepherd. Because no one ever uses canine to mean like a Tanuki. Even though that's technically correct, it's like no one's gonna say that, right? It's the like societal difference as opposed to the actual technical difference. You know.
my meta. And post side, you can up that number drastically as well. This is important because it means I'm always interacting on my opponent's first turn in pretty large ways. That
Yeah,
is
but you
the
would
appeal-
never call like a grizzly bear a canine, right? Like no one's like, oh yes, my favorite canine, the black bear. Well, that is technically true. It's just like native English speakers don't think of that. It's the whales aren't fish argument. Exactly. It's the tomato is a fruit argument. It's like, yeah, who gives a shit? I understand. Yeah, it kind of feels weird to have a Tanuki as, like, a canine. Like, why are you not just, like, good boy doggo? Or good girl doggo or something like that? Well, like, why aren't you just, like, I don't know, a Chihuahua.
To this deck. Your deck doesn't do crazy things when it goes first. You're actually playing a pretty fair game. You want to make sure that you're always playing. And I'm not letting you go uninterrupted unless I'm comfortable breaking through it. And I will come up later. This gave me the basis for how to build the deck. It should give me a strong way of dealing with K9 VS without sacrificing too much into Yummy, so I can continue on my deck as normal there. And then the mirror match, I'd have to test, as truthfully, I wasn't sure what exactly the best cards would be, but in most grind game-centric decks, I feel pretty comfortable in the mirror, as it often becomes a battle of wits, and not to be arrogant, but I do feel relatively comfortable in this.
Crimson and Scarlet aren't just red.
That gave me a strong start, but of course, rarely will I enter event without just playing it ever. And if you're looking to pick up any of the cards I've mentioned here today, or anything for your collection or for your deck in general, then make sure to check out Tier 0 Games. They are the place to shop for Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and if you use the code Jesse5, you will get 5% off on your entire order. Not only does it save you money, but it does go a long way to support myself and the channel. Make sure that I can keep giving you guys breakdowns like this in the future. So that brings us to testing.
If I'm not mistaken, this channel is full of like really top tier players for the TCG. Like it's mostly Jesse Cotton, but I believe there's other like top players. Yeah. So I don't know who else actually even posts on this, I'm not gonna lie, but it's like the North American team, similar to like Josh's team in Europe. This is like the North American version.
Now, truthfully, testing this event was a lot less than it liked, but I did do some. My focus has been on the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship and Mashable, which is a different format. And that means that I didn't give this deck or format the time I'd love to really know it perfectly. But my testing still did yield some important results, so I felt like it was well worth talking about. Now, I had two main forms of testing. For one, I went to a case tournament about an hour away with Triff Gaming, of course, who won the YCS, and my friend Assad, who also got top 32. Ironically, we all played 3 different Josh decks.
Okay. I'm sure you have seen this, but hold on.
About an hour away with Triff Gaming, of course, who won the YCS, and my friend
I'm sure many people have heard this argument of like I think Gage and Farfa from the Wonky Quartet have this opinion where they are like, imagine playing Yummy. Like imagine being like, oh, I special Cupsy, I activate the effect of Cookie or something like that. They're like, that's gotta be so cringe, dude. And like I can understand not liking the idea of the way that the deck plays, but like 1000%, the only reason I would ever play Yummy is to be like, I activate Cookie, I activate Cupsy. I would like to activate the effect of Yummy Way or something like that, because that's so fun. I special summon Cupsy Wupsy in attack position. Like that's so fun. I love that.
Assad, who also got top.
That's like one of the greatest things about Yu-Gi-Oh!
So we weren't all on the same page in terms of testing. With Drift playing Yummy, myself, Big Tail, and friend Assad.
Cupcakes,
the case tournament wasn't too great,
ass.
but the quality of players was still solid. In fact, one of the other players there as well made it all the way to the final round and only got knocked out by Drift. And it gave me some good insight into testing. Now, I went 3-1 in the tournament. I did lose. There were a couple things I was trying out for that tournament. For one, I was trying the Fiendsmith cards. However, I didn't main deck them. The reason I didn't main deck them is if you want a big Fiendsmith package, then you're gonna have to cut hand traps. And again, that defeated the entire purpose of my strategy, so I didn't do that. I only had a couple flex spots in that could be something else. So,
I'm sorry. Hold on. Wait. That's a wild idea. Man, I hate the side deck.
I side deck them. You may ask, why the freak would you side deck them? Well, if you count the number of stars in your deck, Phimina will count as a starter. Lucius, Malulu, P2, and Rahu, it's 15. That's not terrible, but it's not great either. And even then, they're all real starters. They require multi-card combinations in order to function. As well as when your opponent has a hand trap or two, you can get stuck and stunted relatively easily. So you do need something else
like
to
when
kind of
Farfa starts
propel you
BB
forward.
talking.
Now, Fiendsmith helps that when you go first, because if you don't draw any Jigsaw cards, just hand traps, then you're playing pure Fiendsmith. And that bigger problem is consistency as well as Bishals and such. When Bishals not being good against Rikatel, I didn't expect them to be used against me, as well as drawing Fiendsmith cards, and consistency is not the problem. So it would mean playing pure Fiendsmith in some games, but that's okay. But then in other games, you play the two engines together, and they're actually very good. And then there were two other reasons that I tried the Fiendsmith cards. For one, I can make D High King Caesar. What this meant is when I went to Fusion Summon, I could get Caesar on field first, and then they can Retaliating City. A very powerful card.
Also, can I just say how much I despise the DDD names? At least as an English speaker, they make me so angry. Because the name of this card is DDD Wave High King Caesar. And that does not sound right. Shouldn't it go like DD Wave King High Caesar, like High King Wave Caesar, or like Wave King High Caesar or something like that. Like, it just feels just so... Just it's like that uncanny valley aspect, but in, like, a name. One of the rare ultra butchered localizations. I feel like a lot of DDD cards have that. But it's just like... That doesn't... How do you... Huh?
About. However, it's important to note that the weeks leading up towards the event, this card has seemed to fallen out of people's side decks as they were disrespecting Draco Tail, and that will play into my decisions for deck building later on. And the other reason to play the Feast cards is it's another engine that is great in the grind game, which means if I am put into a mirror match, I am just playing with more grind games and more resources than my opponent should have, in theory. Now, I never actually got to test this out. Unfortunately, I was the only Draco Tail player at this event, and I never got to play test any mirror matches with Fiend cards. I don't know if this is true. And it's something I'd still like to test in the future, so I'll leave it to you guys to figure out.
I will say, I am still surprised by how few Draco Tail players there has been at events. He's a king that surfs high waves. Yeah.
A true sentiment or not. But I tested these and they worked okay. The problem with any Fiendsmith deck is make it work fine on itself. That's like cards.
Oh yeah, that's the problem with a lot of things is like translating ideas and concepts across languages is just like impossible. Not entirely, but like just the way that you say things in a different language changes the context entirely. And it's not something you pick up on until, like, you actually speak multiple languages. Like, fluently as well.
But Paradise, like, that's fine.
It's
but
hard
it doesn't mean
to
it's also side decking bricks, which doesn't feel great. It doesn't mean you are putting in cards that are kind of
like
sus. My losses in the tournament were effectively just 2 games to Blue Eyes. I did get 2-0'd, and both games went about the same, where I got interacted with my normal son of Lucius, and I had nothing else I could do. And I hand-trapped my opponents a bunch to slow the game down, but I fell behind to cards like Drill Beam, and I was stuck in the Genjutsu. Drill Beam set. I lost. And you could argue the problem there was Drill Beam, but to me the problem was clear. I needed to have more ways to side an engine and to push. And the Fiends with the cards weren't great, because eventually in that grind game I had to draw the Fiends with the cards, but it's not they had perfect...
Well, the reason we got Fiend and Fairy is because of religious iconography being more frowned upon in the West. Especially Christian iconography, which is more associated with like angels and demons. Because more Western culture is centered around Christianity, whereas in the East, and in most notably Japan, that's not as important. It's not a like cultural checkpoint, I guess, that like a lot of people believe in, right? So it does make sense. It's the same reason why like Monster Reborn isn't in Onk, and like a bunch of stuff like that. Also, the other reason is because they actually tried to make this card game a kids game, and so toning down a lot of the like blood and stuff like that makes a bit more sense, right? Like Ultimate, Ultimate Offering and stuff like that. So very silly.
With the Draco Tails, I wasn't really able to tie them together in a way that was really good to beat my opponent had. And it's not like I was playing through a ton. I was hand trapping them to stop a huge Blue Eyes field from happening. So the 3-1 at the tournament wasn't bad for me. And this included beating Triff, good 2-0, which I was happy about. You're lucky he didn't catch these hands at Weiss Vancouver. But it set me on a good track for the deck. I was feeling pretty comfortable with what I had, but I had some problems to address. Consistency being the biggest one. Now, a lot of people have talked about how this deck has a problem with its power going first. I don't think that's true. I, for one, have always felt decent when I go first and get to play. Obviously, the end board isn't brilliant, but it's enough that I feel like I can enter a grind game. And again, I feel comfortable in those grind games that I'm not worried about what my opponent does or the power of my field. So as I was continuing to adjust the deck, the strength of my end board was not something I was really worried about. It was more important to have cards that let me start playing. The only other bit of testing I did was I played 2 matches against my good friend Dominic Couch, who also got top 82 with K9 DS. And that is exactly what he played in our matches against him. It served to be a good playtest to my strategy of Ogre Valor plus the Charmies and Nib and see how it worked. And it worked well. Honestly, I traded up in those matches. I think I won both matches we played.
I don't remember
only one duel between those 2 matches.
What his deck list actually looks like. Does he have a... Do we ever see the full deck list? I think it was earlier, right? Maybe? Oh. Hold on.
Same way that Ripper fueled
I
by
wasn't
the
paying
Charmies
attention
are playing
during
this
this part.
of the field. Well, it should be 20 hand traps when you're on other decks. That led me to the sort of build.
Yeah, lots of hand traps. Fua, Perulia, Ash. Is there a better card than Ash? Not really. And then Valor Ogre. What does Ogre stop? Ogre stops yummies, I guess. Yeah, like removes the yummy from the field. They go like link 1 and then you Imperm over Ash maybe? I don't think so. What kid can comprehend this game these days? You'd be surprised. Anyway. Building a side deck. I don't care, I'm not gonna lie.
There. But that brings us to YCS Vancouver itself.
To
and of
YCS.
course, the tournament starts off with 2 buys for me.
Can they play
I
the
am
Dominus
the last
cards?
remaining
No.
US champion to receive 2 buys, thanks to the ring that I won in LA just last year. So for the next couple of years, I will be starting off with 2 buys anytime I play in the Americas regions. A fantastic help for any tournament, there is no doubt. But obviously those are the 2 easier rounds of the tournament. Round 3 starts and up against a VS K9 player. This one's actually a feature match, so it's a time to put to the test if my theories and practice against Vanquish K9 pay off. And luckily it does. I do win 2-0, including obviously going second. I was able to hold him off with a slew of hand traps, as well as develop more disruptions than he could put up with when being go first. So round 3 ended off pretty well. But it would turn sour rather quickly, because soon I'd play against Cody Manabe. Now, if you're not familiar with Cody Manabe, he is a player with some decent success over the last few years. But importantly, he had second place at the last YCS Vancouver. And I won the last YCS Vancouver, which means he was looking for revenge. The game starts off with me winning the roll, which is fantastic. I develop my OK field, and I pass off to him with access to 5 mana and both traps face down. He starts off with Engage, which signals it's not Striker Tempai, it's Yummy. This is pretty common in Yummy. He summons Hornet Drones and then goes for Thari and Hornet Drones. And then when he activates Hornet Drones and summons the token...
Can we ban Engage again, please?
I have a bit of a decision here. I don't love the Draco Tail bounce trap because most of the time they can play around it. They can have another monster in field alongside the Snatchy to chain and quick synchro, as well as every other monster they can summon in defense. So the bounce here, not the most relevant. So I decide to chain and bounce, but I take it one step further. I decide that I can chain my Golem to pop the token, and that way keeping him off of any plays. So I do that, but the reason why this may not be correct is now it gives him an open field for Obedience School, which may have been the play all along that he was kind of baiting up for. Lo and behold, he thrusts for Obedience School and slams it down, but I dispel the gate for it, so I'm feeling safe. However, because it draws a card, it is weak to Ash, as well as it puts a card on the bottom of the deck, it's weak to Bell. So I get Ashed on the trap, and it's now a oh shit moment.
Please ban Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, thank you.
So from that position, I do end up running out of resources and actually get OTK'd by Cody. Now, looking back, I do think I probably should have just been patient. I can win a grind game versus Yami, no problem. In fact, that's when I thrive. I need to make sure I don't die. And using my disruptions early meant it was easy for him to OTK me after he had the 1 stop for my 1 trap card. And that meant I was off to game number 2. This game ends up being super easy. I have an Ash in my hand, and I have the spell negate face down, which I make sure to hold for Obedience School. Eventually thrusts for it. I decide to just negate the thrust in case for whatever reason he plays evenly matched, and he concede shortly after. So not a huge problem. Don't even have to use the Ash. Game 2 ends immediately for me. Game 3, I draw a hand of Perulia, Fuwalos, and Ash Blossom, as well as like a Lucius and a Malulu. So like, the hand is pretty good. I'm feeling pretty happy with what I have. I draw face Perulia him, so he needs Engage, Drones, or Obedience School to play without giving me a draw. Start off Obedience School. I look at my hand here, and I'm like, I want to Ash here first, because I want to encourage draws in hand.
Dude, Obedience School is so crazy.
And then get him stuck under double Charmies. So I Ash the Obedience School, and it resolves. I'm like, okay, pretty good. Then he activates another Obedience School, which for some reason not wants to return. So here I'm like, I have to chain Fuwalos, and I get hit with Call by the Grave on Fuwalos. So at this point, you can see I have 2 cards in hand, and Obedience School is resolving. I lose this game. Actually, Femina are the cards that dominate the rest of the duel. And that brings me to round number 7, where I play my only Draco Tail mirror match all tournament. And I lose the die roll, which not a
Wait, sorry.
turn back to me, and I cannot do anything. I do lose this game very swiftly, and that leads me into my first loss. From the point, I play against another VS K9, which I'm able to 2-0 rather effectively in the same sort of fashion. When I go first, I'm able to swiftly win, and when I go second, I have the hand traps to stop Ripper, and then Nib, Phantasme, and Femina are the cards that dominate the rest of the duel. And that brings me to round number 7, where I play my only Draco Tail mirror match all tournament. And I lose the die roll, which not a big deal, and he sets up a Sanity field pretty similar to what I'd been doing. But with my Draco Tail Rahu being negated by Draco Tail Flame, I start falling behind in cards. And eventually his cycle of traps is just too much for me, and I'm unable to keep up, losing game 1 rather simply. Game 2, I get to go first, open up Fenrir and Cartesia, which is a fantastic start, and I kind of just dominate him, and there's not much that my opponent can do. They end up using Arthur Lion with 5 mana on my turn, and I banish the Arthur Lion with Fenrir, and then they summon Arthur Lion again on my turn. I block it with Secretarian so they can't do anything, and then I Fenrir banish it again. So now they have 1 Arthur Lion, and they finally stabilize the position, but it gets back to my turn. I'm still pretty healthy in cards. They have 1 Arthur Lion left. It's incredibly downhill from there. Quickly they'll concede. And that brings us to game number 3. Opponent starts off with a Fenrir and starts Fenrir. Then they start with Kitu. Now, at this point, I have an Ash in my hand. I don't love ashing here. However, I feel like starting Kitu is usually a sign of weakness. That means his only other card is either a Rahu or he has nothing. So I decide to Ash this here. He then goes for Izuna, which sucks. But I do have Valor, so I get to Valor the Izuna, make sure that the whole loop doesn't go down. His Ripper would screw me over, and I don't have any more hand traps to block from there. From there, he activates Rahu. Rough. One of the times that drawing the spell works in his favor. I pretty much opened up the Izuna for him, and now he gets to resolve his fusion effects and set up a field. Now, because I just stopped Kitu and it was awkward for him, it doesn't end on everything. He's able to add Urgla back to his hand. He draws a Karl Shadal Beast, that I don't know, and sets only Draco Tail Flame. He sets the card I don't know.
Is blank
which,
should all be standard? Were we playing that in this deck? Hold on. That's the yummy list. No, I don't think so. Okay.
Was after he searched as well, so it could be Draco Tail Horn, it could be something else, and he passes. He uses the Draco Tail Flame and uses the Fenrir, and there's not much else he's going for him. He has the Urgula in hand, he has the Fenrir on field, and the Azuna on field. And I'm at the point where I can now resolve a Rahu, and with the Rahu, I'll summon Gulamel, Urgula will set Kitu, and I'll be able to kind of roll away with the game in a way that he can cope with. However, as I send the Urgula and use the fact, my opponent chains the Draco Tail Horn, which I did not know was there. He bounces his own Azuna to his hand, which makes sense. So he has access to a River play. And he draws 5 Mina. Because he has Urgula in hand, and you guys know this, he gets to make Gulamel, and I have a Draco Tail trap face down with Gulamel and a Kitu. And he gets to make the Gulamel, Urgula pop one, Gulamel pop the other, and just like that, I'm out of there. Which was rough, because it was a game that I'd clawed back, and I'd say I was definitely in the winning position. But unfortunately, the draw 5 mana there did screw me over. And I had Urgula in my grave as well, the 5 mana engrave. So even if he had only Ash that he drew off the top, then my Gulamel plus trap face down and Gulamel in the field would have been enough to still stay in the game just fine. But I do lose there, and that puts me into 5-2, which means I have to in the last 3 rounds of Swiss in order to make top cuts. Last round of day 1, I'm actually playing against Kai Hari, who's a well-known Labyrinth player. And I win the roll and get hit with a D barrier. Thank you, Arius, right away. He's able to loop the D barrier with cards like Transaction Rollback and Lovely Labyrinth, and I do lose game 1 pretty decisively. Game 2, however, he's not able to repeat the same thing.
Yay, D barrier.
No turn 1 D barriers, I win the grind pretty decisively with a constant flow of 3,000 attack Arthur Lions and Urgula pops and Pan pops. The Labyrinth cannot keep up with this power craft. That brings us to game 3, and after a slurry of plays from the Labyrinth opponent, he is not able to find D barrier. A backjack just finds an impulse, and with an impulse and a pop face down, I'm well able to clear out every single last card he has, put into 0 cards, hand or field, and pass with some Draco Tail face downs, and very quickly the match spirals into defeat for him. It leaves me with 6-2 record going into day number 2. Round 9, I do play against Tristan Bridges, another well-known player who was on Yummy as well. I win the roll, make a field he cannot deal with because the deck is not that good at pushing through my deck, and I win the game decisively. Game 2, I draw Fenrir, and some other nonsense. So I'm like, oh, probably lose this game. And then he goes set 2 and pass. I think pretty rough start from him. I draw Fenrir search. No, I already had the Fenrir search. Attack and pass. They can't do too much. He draws, passes back, and then from there, he's dead. Pretty rough start from Tristan there, and leaves me 2-0 into the final round of Swiss. The final round of Swiss, I play against the only Rizal Mitsuo played against all tournament, which was very interesting. I set up my standard turn 1 field win first, I won the roll, and he pushes through with Rizal cards. Mix Exciton, but ends up being a huge blunder because I'm actually behind in cards at this point. So the Exciton is unable to activate, and it doesn't force any disruptions just yet. Presses forward, and I pretty much mitigate.
Wait. Yeah, in what world will you ever make Exciton against Draco Tail? Like, when are you ever realistically going to have the ability to do that? I guess unless you, like, hand trap them, you know? But, like, you're always gonna have more cards, right?
All the Rizal cards with the
I don't know, I guess not.
The Draco Tails, and then he uses the Mitsu cards for the final push. I find Mana Fusion to make Filia Regis, control the grave a little bit, and set up some disruption. He's able to fully clear my field. I'm able to set fusion cards so that I'm still able to play on the next turn, and he's not able to answer. As well as cards in hand, so that the Ame doesn't just ruin my life. He ends with the Prayers face down and Purification with Ame, and that's it. With the use of Urgla Engrave and Pan Engrave, as well as the float of Gulamel, Arthur Lion, and then my 2 fusion spells, I'm able to force through all of his back row, and then eventually Filia Regis both copies of his Ame no Murakamo, leaving him with very little to play with, and I win the grind. At this point, it's the only time close to time all tournament. We have a 35-minute game 1, even though it's only a couple turns each, of me just grinding through. I start off the turn with Perulia, and he thinks for a second before going Bonfire for Ice Rizal, sorry. Here I debate for a moment, deciding to just droll and Lockbird. I decide that it's worth it. My hand was strong enough. I don't need to Perulia resolve. I think I had like a Kitu, a Lucius. I had like 3 engine cards at least, so I feel pretty comfortable. He decides instead of committing anything there, he's going to pass. Not a Malulu, that's what. So I normal Malulu, and then I activate Rahu Diffuse, and he lets it all go through. Then I summon Arthur Lion, I bounce back, I set Kitu, I use Kitu, and he draws an Resolution there. It really doesn't do much. From there, I'm able to summon Malulu, and then find Mana Fuse, and it's 4 summons. It is just enough to go for game. So with that, I do decisively win 2 on the bubble as well, and I make it to top 32. In the top 32, against another VS K9 opponent, and I don't remember much about this match. I remember winning in like 5 minutes. My deck did exactly what I needed to do. I'm pretty sure both games actually end with me going second and nibbing him for like every card he has, and then he just loses, which is super cool. That brings us to the top 16, which is a feature match, I think is a super cool one.
No, I don't have anything to say.
I do lose game 1.
Here's what I will say. I think Nibiru is such a good card. I think it's such a well-designed card. And I wish we had more options like that to disrupt going second with, like, hand traps. But instead, they printed Fualos and Perulia and Meowls and Maxi. And now we have to deal with that instead. Anyway.
After a bit of an awkward hand, I'm able to stunt his plays, but my hand isn't very strong in engine. So I normal summon, when I'm pressed with the position of do I normal summon a Lucius or do I normal summon a Malulu? And he has a 1600 defense monster field. I decide to normal summon the Lucius as my starter card, even though it's worse than Imperm cards, because if I get Imperm, I can use attack over the monster. He has nothing in hand. However, between combination of droplet and such, it doesn't matter, and I still end up losing that battle anyways. And the Snatchy does just beat me the next turn. It is important that in this game state, Ghost Ogre on Snatchy ended up being very useful. It came up a couple times all tournament. I didn't expect Ghost Ogre to be so good against Yummy, but honestly, it was pretty good. Game 2, I'm able to go first. I make my standard field, and you guys can see, some people worry about this deck's end field, but my games felt relatively easy. Most of the time, I still have plenty of disruption stuff over, and the game ends relatively smoothly. That brings us to game number 3. And I draw a hand of Fenrir, Ghost Ogre, Ghost Spell, and
He's just
I think
like
it was
me
Cartesia.
for
I don't think it mattered what it
real.
was. It was a card that was not super relevant. It wasn't Engine, though. Maybe it was Rahu, actually. No, it was Rahu. It was Rahu. It was Engine card. It was Rahu. Which is an okay hand. Double Fenrir is a bit of a shame because the Fenrir can't search. And he starts with Obedience School, which signals a couple things to me. For one, it means that he can't go Link Spider, he can't go into Metal Marcher. It means his plays overall are going to be a little bit less. It also means with 4 of the cards in his hand, he's going to have plenty of extenders, so Ogre and Bell can't stream a stop. But the nice part about those cards is they play very well going second as well. So I can shift up my game plan. This happens a lot when you draw Fenrir. Instead of relying to prevent the field or weakening the field, you try and break the field with cards like Fenrir, and your hand traps being used on your turn. Bell, Ogre, Phantasma, all cards that can do that. So he makes the field, and then I drop a turn.
Why is Fenris a card that still exists in the TCG? Why is that card allowed to exist? Like, Imagine printing explicit threats to address aspects of the game while respecting and rewarding deck and meta knowledge? Couldn't be Konami. That's like every card game, though. Like, have you ever seen Magic the Gathering? They just have, like, half of their cards are literally just, like, counter. Like, what does blue do except for go counter target card? And then drop, like, I don't know, big guy. Like, every card game does that. It's like, oh, imagine creating, like, an actual interesting idea and sticking with that. And creating these cards that actually have meaningful points of interaction that allow your players to make decision trees in the course of a game. In a strategy game. Anyway, here's Big Nuke button.
On Nim, which is not actually terrible because Nim can be used on my own turn as well.
Instead,
as
here's Raigeki.
I do expect him to be follow-up, so I don't mind it, although it's not brilliant. I summon the Fenrir, and immediately he goes to Yummy to Synchro. Now, here I'm confused. At this point, there is no tuner, or no non-tuner on his field. It becomes apparent that he thinks that the Cups he's summoned on his field is a non-tuner. Because he's summoned up Starham, it's a tuner. His plan is to book my monsters. Making Herald Arclight here makes no sense. But I think for a second, I'm like, I don't need to Ogre and Bell this. I could force it to resolve and Arclight over it. But if I Ghost Ogre this, you'll think that he's trying to quick synchro to make the two. You'll think on the same page, even though we're not. And then he'll chain to summon back from the grave, which I can Bell, which will force the surprise that he has set, and force him to surprise the wrong monster. Because then he'll be able to synchro. He'll revive a tuner, the Snatchy, and then be stuck. And he'll pretty much use every disruption he has. But I decided to try that and see if it'll catch him. Because my hand isn't crazy high quality. And at this point, I don't know that he has no hand traps. So I go for that. And it works. He summons he uses the synchro effect, I Bell it, and then he uses surprise and summons back the Snatchy. And then he can't synchro. Has to make Arclight, I attack over it, and then Rahu. Thankfully, I'm not any other hand traps, and we'll start playing. I clear his entire field, and I'm left with the Fenrir field, which is great. And the Nib stays in my hand. Now, the next turn, I just have to 1x1 make sure that I don't lose what he has. I offline back to Bell as well, and I slowly grind out every card he has, including all 3 of his Snatchies, and I think every single one of his Cupsy normal summons. Not Cupsy, Yummy, all 9 normal summons. And then at the end, when he has no cards left and 4 monsters in field that do anything, Nibiru ends the game. So, very happy how I played that game. My hand wasn't bad, but it was also working with kind of sticks and stones, and I lined it off very well to make it, honestly, a game that didn't look very close, which I think was cool, because his hand wasn't bad at all. He had, like, Thrust, Talents, Obedience School, which is good. And with that, we're into top 8. However, this is where my tournament ends. I do lose the roll. My opponent goes Extravagance, draw 2. My hand at this point is not good. It is 5 mana, Malulu, and 3 Lucius. I have 5 mana, yes, but remember the plan versus...
He's just like me! He's just like me for real.
VSK9 is to have hand traps with 5 mana.
That's so funny.
Passes, though. I'm like, okay. And then I draw for turn a second Malulu. So the hand is 2 Malulus, 3 Luciuses, and a 5 mana. Okay. A normal Malulu and use 5 mana's effect. Or Malulu's effect, sorry. Here he goes, Chain Fua. And there's 2... I can go for game, or I can fuse away my entire hand in 5 mana and give him 0 draws. And this is arguably a mistake on my behalf. I try to go for game. I end up drawing into Crow, Ash, and Holisu with Caesar, and he denies the kill shot, and I do lose the game. Which, if I just given him 0 draws, maybe would have worked out fine for me. My end board wouldn't have been all that impressive, so which is why I wasn't in love with it. But in hindsight, I think I probably should have just given 0 draws, because that deck is too explosive with top decks. You can't try and kill them so hard. That brings us to game number 2, in which I draw a hand of all 5 engine cards. I think
is there a deck that, like, if they just pass, you could kill? I guess Yummy. Yeah, I was like every top deck right now just is like, oh, you wanted to interact with me? You wanted to try and kill me? I guess Ryziel Mitsu as well. Like, you could probably kill through double Fua.
Pan, a 5 mana, Lucius. One of those hands again. I hit with Fua loss. I make a half field. I save a key 2 to fuse if I get Rippered. And I pass. It's already a pan. At that point, he activates Holisu. I'm like, shit. I'm also under Fluid. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I got Fluid, so I don't have a full field. Like, okay, Holly's not good. He summons the Raisin, pops my my guy, searches for a Caesar, reveals a Crow in his hand. This is just Borger. Oh god. And then summons Caesar, pops a back row, then summons Borger, draws a card, and it's just like, I'm so screwed. And by the time it passes back to him, he's like back at 7 in hand, the Holly Sue on field, Raisin in hand.
Dude, Vanquish Soul's so crazy.
Caesar on field, and I'm down so many cards. And with no one on engine in my hand, commands 5 engine cards, I just can't keep up. And I very quickly lose the game. He plays well, in that he applies pressure early on, so I have to find Mina and such early, and just bounce random bullshit just to stay alive. And he's still able to then press later on with future cards and kills me. So he pressured well, and I lose 2-0. Unfortunately, not too much that could be done there. So
Crazy.
it does mean I lose the tournament in top 8. But
Tragic. I'm gonna call it quits there. I think Draco Tail is an interesting idea. I'm excited for Draco Tail. I hope we get it soon. I hope what they do is what they did in the TCG to an extent. I hope what they do for Master Duel is that we get Vanquish Soul first, and then we get like Draco Tail next. Because I think before K9, I think Vanquish Soul is interesting and is like genuinely I'm even with the K9 cards, it's genuinely a very fun deck. But I think it'd be a cool metagame to have and to like play out when it's like, here is Vanquish Soul, Draco Tail, and you gotta like figure out how to play like Draco Tail mirror matches or like a Vanquish Soul against Draco Tail and stuff like that, and then whatever else like ends up being popular, like Mitsu, Ryzeal, or Malice, or what have you. Like there's a lot there that I think would make the game pretty interesting. So I hope they do that, because like they did that with Tearlament as well, where they released the Ishizu cards before Tearlament, and then we got Tearlament after the fact. And it created like this weird metagame. To be fair, the Ishizu cards were busted as hell anyway, so it was still just like, yeah, whatever deck can play them, and it ended up being branded. Ugh. But yeah. But I think there could be a lot of like really cool metagames that we get from just like the release schedule for the Justice Hunters decks, right? All I'm asking is don't release Yummy first. If it's not Yummy first, I think there's a lot of really interesting things that you could get. But like, it should be Vanquish Soul first, then like Draco Tail, and then at that point it doesn't matter between K9 or Yummy. But like, I think that'd be very cool. Anyway, make Yummy Malice 2.0. Please no. Please no. I will say, at the very least, Yummy mirror matches would be more interesting. Not a lot more, but a little bit. Because at least it's not Cybers. Yay. And at least there's not, like, silver bullets to the deck that just, like, immediately kill you. Oh, except for Maxi exists. Never mind. Forget I said anything. Yummy with Snatchy animation? Please don't give me a Snatchy animation. Please. I don't want Snatchy animation. Give me something else. Give me one of the synchros, please. I don't want to see the Snatchy animation every 5 seconds. They did it with Ryuga into Malice, into Ryzeal into Malice. Yeah, and that is what I would like to see as well. Is like, let's go Draco Tail into K9 into Yummy. Although it was Ryuga into Malice into Ryzeal, but yeah. Yummy with all main deck animated. True. Honestly, if the main deck was animated, it wouldn't be as bad. But if Snatchy was animated, I'm almost certain they're gonna animate Cookie Way right? Like, there's no shot it's not, like, Cookie Way, right? Cupsy's cute. Yeah, but then I'd have to see the animation every, like, 5 seconds. I don't want to see the animation every, like, 5 seconds. That'd suck. That's my problem with Snatchy. Like, you could give me Snatchy and that'd be fine. But then I'd have to see it, like, 10 times over the course of a duel against Yummy. And it'd be like, ugh. I get it! Whereas at the very least with, like, the synchros, you're seeing it, like, what, 3 times? The entire deck would have massive thumbs, like they weigh 6,000 pounds. They're like, here's this little dingus. Poof, shakes the board. Cupsy Way? What's up, Monarch? Yeah, Cupsy Way could get the animation. I feel like it's Cookie Way though, right? Am I wrong? I don't know. Maybe it's both. Cool. Well, I'm gonna call it quits there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, like, it's very much appreciated. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye bye.